Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, it is my devout privilege to welcome you to the RadioSEGA Expanding Communities Through Content, Culture, and Music Preservation panel. And before you ask, yes, that was the most pretentious title I could think of off the top of my head whilst filling out the application. A little bit about myself before we get started. I have the distinct honor of being your moderator today for this panel. By the way, the first of its kind. You guys are making history by being here today, so give yourself a hand. I am the Internet's CD-ROM 1019. Say the thing, say the thing. Okay, and baby, I was born this way. To help me with my panel today, actually, before I get there, a little bit of backstory about myself. I am a jack of so many different trades, but I am one of the internal show hosts with RadioSEGA's radio team, to which there are several of us and a number of also people that work internally that help us do what we do. Very important. I drove 6 hours to be here today out of the city of Syracuse, New York, where I am the founder of the New York Gamers Federation. Any of you come from New York? All right, good enough. All right, we'll look past that. All right, cool. So one of the reasons that I say all that is because the panel, I firmly believe that the panel that I'm helping to put on today with the assistance of all the internal RadioSEGA staff who you see on this projector next to me, I firmly believe that this slots in with my group's core mission of not only making the world a better place, but building on brands, crushing on... I had this all planned out in my head, and it just goes out the door when I get on stage. Just stopping the stigma and, just getting people together so that we can play and we can make the world a better place. That jive with you guys? All right, right on. All right, I'm not gonna dawdle any further here because I got 5 people on screen and they got a lot to talk to you about, and we've got only so little time to do it. So let me go through introductions here. Let me see if this mouse is going to behave with me today. Where is my mouse? There's my mouse. Okay, cool. In this box right here, our first guest is the current radio head administrator of RadioSEGA at a whopping... How old are you now?
20.
A whopping 20 years young. Can you believe that? 20 years young, he's got more responsibility than all of us. This, hailing all the way from the United Kingdom, please welcome Green Viper 8.
Hello. So nice to be here.
In this box next to him was the radio head to come before him, and we are always happy when we get to see him, bringing a little bit of that Portuguese flair to help with the panel, while everybody else is sitting firmly in the United Kingdom, and I being almost one of the very few that's in America. Please welcome KC.
Hello, welcome.
Our next guest carries the prestigious title of once community manager of SEGA Europe. And he was the founder of SonicRex.com and currently head proprietor of Last Minute Continue. Would you please welcome Kevin Ava?
Hi, everybody. Thanks very much for coming along.
Next to him in this box right here is our current playlist manager. He's the reason that we have everything so squeaky clean the way we do, all tracks tagged and bagged. And he is incredibly knowledgeable about what he does and about all the art and the people who make the art, and that's why he is the host of the RadioSEGA Livecast individual. He is Nicholas Haman.
Hello, Nicholas Amaniso. This is part of MAGFest.
And last but certainly not least, this fine lady down in this square right here is a jack of so many trades, speedrunner, show host, beloved overclocked remixer. You might be thinking to yourself, well, she sounds like the perfect lady. What's the catch? You might just need 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day to keep up with her. Please welcome Rexy.
Yeah, that's me. I was here 4 years ago. Glad to be back here again, even digitally.
All right. So that about handles all the introductions. I am here to look pretty and direct your questions to the panel when it's time for that. But these fine folks... These fine folks are arguably way more better at what they do than I am. My radio career spans about 11 years, going as far back, and I've been around the map. So I've had some time working at Sega Sonic Radio. I took some time at Radio Nintendo, and now I work along these lovely people who I call my radio family at RadioSEGA, and they're going to spend the next 90 minutes or so, or less, depending on how much I stop talking, to talk to you about what we do, why we do it, and why we make it great. And if that sounds good to you, give me a hell yeah. I love it. All right. Viper, you want to take the reins?
Do I? Sure, I guess. Right, well then. With that in mind, hello, as has been previously introduced, I am Green Viper, the current head administrator of Radio Sega, which feels so weird to say, given all the fine faces who did such a good job at introducing me to the station. I'm currently surrounded by them, so it's a little bit weird to be in such a position right now where I can say yes. My underlings, as we so often joke. It's the other way around. I feel quite weird about it. But with that in mind, I came to be a Radio Sega admin all the way back in 2018 after the fine KC here wanted a little bit of a hand with running the station, and I'd already been trying to pick up some bits here and there across the place. So it made sense for me to continue on. And yeah, I was the one who stepped up to the call, and ultimately now 5 years on, that doesn't feel right to say. 5 years on, here we are with the day-to-day operations still kind of falling onto me. I think people need to give Casey a lot more credit than they end up doing so, though, even if he's had his long-needed and long-deserved break as well. So in terms of my introduction to the station, proper was in the year 2014. You've already heard reference to the fact of Sega Sonic Radio's existence, which was actually where I got my start in this internet radio community. I'd say probably 2014 as a dirty Sega Sonic Radio listener, and then I made my jump to Radio Sega at long last, and just fell in love with the community and the people. And I think that's something you'll hear a lot from people who listen to Radio Sega and anyone who joins the community. Is it's always been such a warm, lovely, and friendly family of people, and that's still not changed to this day. I still feel proud of saying that, even as the one taking the reins now. It's still as true as it ever was when I was among the ranks, shall we say. So yeah, it was introduced in 2014, properly really became integrated with the station back around Winterfest 2014, the very first of the events I'm sure you'll be hearing more about during the panel. But I've been around since then and have continued to be active where possible. And yeah, 2016 was when I got my start in hosting shows, hosting the thankfully long gone Dreamcast Hour, which you'll be pleased to hear. It's since been replaced by many better shows that I'm way more equipped to host.
I like it.
Well, a little bit of bias. You helped somewhat in making it way better than it was. But yeah, I then moved on to hosting a show called Topical Resort, which was where I really cut my teeth here on the station. It was a show focusing on anything to do with Sega, and I really tried to push my boundaries and not just talking about Sonic and all the things like the consoles themselves. I tried to sometimes go outside my comfort zone and talk about Sega topics which aren't really discussed. Favorites of mine being stuff like Play Sega, the long dead Flash website, which had a lot of cool, interesting games which you now can't get elsewhere. They're completely gone to the sands of time. That was a favorite, as well as I got to do a show about the Sega Channel, which actually has a bit of history with my hometown, which doesn't really have that much cool that you can say about it. So it's interesting that the Sega Channel has some ties to it. Aside from that, then moved on to other shows such as Pick and Mix. I've hosted many other people's shows around the Radio Sega community as well, but you'll mainly know me from my administrative work, which, as previously mentioned, began in the year 2018. Please do excuse my note reading, by the way. I need some mental jogs, apparently. It's been not as long as some of the other people in this call, but there's a lot to think about. So let's see where this all began. What did I want to say? I've probably already stepped on Casey's toes, so apologies about that. But hopefully, we can pick up each other's slack and vice versa here. But yes, one of the things that comes up as a part of the administrative side of things is mainly helping on the technical back end, trying my best to get involved with all the teams that we have here at Radio Sega, which includes the likes of the media team, the video team, which includes this Twitch side of things here, if you're watching this on the Twitch right now, That also includes, of course, the show host, social media, and all the rest of it. So it mainly is interfacing with people, making sure everyone's happy, scheduling things around each other, outreaching to other members of the community, and other Sega communities and video game communities in general. And making sure everyone's happy, getting what we want out of relationships. The main thing is just forming some nice friendships. And you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Maybe if you did a nice show for us, we'll come on and do something in return for you. That's always been part of the agreement, and that's what we like to try and maintain when it comes to the administrative side of things. So I mentioned one of the bits was the technical side. I don't know if CD-ROM's going to go into this a bit later on in regards to how all our software works and how the cool website requesting system works. But mainly my side on that is I try to do a bit of bug finding. I try to code new themes where possible. But for the most part, I was asked to talk about this. But really, all that credit should go down to our incredible techie, who's Kitsuo. Who really maintains all the back end, the physical server, and the technological side of it, and does much of the coding that makes the website tick. So even though I was asked to say it, it's really not my wheelhouse to say so. So I just wanted to give a little shout out. So yeah, mainly man management, as I said, but anything you can kind of think of that requires, interfacing with other human beings. That's really what I like to try and get involved in. That's what I'm most passionate about. And probably the most interesting thing to come with that from the community side of things would be the events management, which is something Casey started for the site and something I continued onwards with. My first event that I organised for the site-wide was Winterfest 2018, a 3-day-long event featuring both a load of our own show hosts and external partners, which was a roaring success. Same as Winterfest has always been since 2014. And I've gone on minus 2021 to really spearhead every single one since, as well as introducing new events to the station, like Opposites Week, which ran for 2 years in a row. We also had 10 Years Live, which was a celebration of 10 years of live shows. It often got confused for 10 years of the website. That had actually been going for far longer, I think 14 years at the time. So stuff like that has really been what I'm perhaps most notable for, and what I enjoy the most. Anyone who's worked on any sort of event of any scale will tell you how much work they put into it, how much sleep they lose, and anything. Even just an online event, and you're sitting here at MAGFest, think about how many times that's multiplied over for a physical in-person event featuring so many staff. Even just a small online digital-only event, only through the form of audio, really takes it out of all of us. But once again, as anyone who has organised these sort of things can say, it's all so worth it and satisfying to hear the end result, to see you put a smile on someone's face, to make them happy, and to make yourselves happy as well, because that's really what it's all about in the process. You can't be doing it if you're not enjoying it. But I'd say that's really the meat and potatoes of what I do, the things that I enjoy the most. And perhaps what the listeners enjoy the most. So I hope I've covered enough there. If you all on the panel have any questions, or anyone else, feel free to let me know throughout. But hopefully I've covered it all without waffling too much. Fingers crossed.
You're doing great. We will of course open the panel for questions as soon as everyone's given their spiel about what it is we do and why we do it and why we love to do it. With that all said, Casey, do we want to bring it over to Casey to talk about the community events we've created and why we created them and how they've gone well?
Probably you don't want to do that, but you can. Okay, yeah, we can. So hey everyone, I apologize first and foremost for my voice, for my accent and my voice, but especially my voice. So if you don't understand me, I apologize. You won't miss much anyway. So as Viper already covered, I was the one in charge of maintaining the website in the radio station before. He actually took charge in 2018. But just a brief history of what RadioSEGA actually is and how it started, because I was there at the beginning as a listener, not as part of staff. So it started as the brainchild of a Brit called Mark Kidley in 2006, March 06, and it. At the time, that was part of his website called My SEGA, mysega.co.uk, I believe. And then he opened up another section of the website called My Sega Radio. I was actually, we got in touch through the forums, the SSMB forums over at the Sonic Stadium. And I was one of the people he, contacted to test out some of the initial broadcasts of the 24/7 stream, what we now call the 24/7 stream. We had a very limited selection of music to play at that time. Just like, I can't remember exactly, but probably like 15, 20 soundtracks perhaps. Mostly Sonic, Sega Rally perhaps, Daytona, USA, not much. And as time went on, My Sega Radio became the most popular part of the website, so it turned into Radio Sega. A few months later, it rebranded. Mark rebranded it as Radio Sega, and that became the whole project. So the website, the forums, later on, and so I joined as a listener first, and then in 2010. When we first started doing what CD-ROM calls live casts, we call live shows.
That's a holdover from my SSR days, by the way.
Exactly.
Old habits die hard.
And so we started Radio Sega Live in March 2010. And at that time, shortly after, I joined staff as a podcast manager. So we started not just airing shows live with show hosts, with people listening in, chatting through IRC, requesting music live and stuff, interacting with the show hosts. But we also decided to make the shows available as podcast episodes. And so we needed people to handle that part of the website, of the shows. And I was one of the two people who joined at the time. It was myself and Retrix. Shout out to Retrix. And that's how I actually got involved more with the community. Although I have to say, Viper mentioned something very important about Radio Sega and the community of involving Radio Sega is I was part of many Sega franchise-specific communities on the internet. But Radio Sega was by far, and I mean by far, the most welcoming, the most inclusive. It always has been, from my experience, and that was probably what also made me want to join staff even more, want to become more involved with the station and maintaining the website and stuff like that. So in 2010, I joined as a podcast manager, something that I very occasionally still do, but mostly it's down to Viper and Resident SD, who do the handling of podcasts mostly nowadays. And then in late 2012, we had a changing of the guard. Actually, Mark was the first head admin. Then we had Gavi. Then after Gavi, we had Forever Sonic, Simon, who became the head admin. And I joined Simon at the time to help him out. And I also became an admin at that moment. But later in 2013, mid-2013 perhaps, Simon had to become less and less involved with the website, and so I stepped up and I became the head admin at the time. I also started hosting my own shows, and that's how I became even more involved with Radio Sega in the community and shaping the website into something a little bit different than it had been until that time, because we had started to lose focus on what I still think is the most important and most unique part of our website, which is the radio station. So in late 2013, September 2013, I believe, we started to focus more on the radio part of things and started coming up with new ideas for new shows, new concepts. People that weren't part of our group of show hosts, we invited them. Some were more than happy to send us some demos. of new shows, ideas they had, and from then on, I think we've managed to keep a very interesting, diverse roster of people hosting interesting shows, fun shows, entertaining shows. So that's what I think. That was my focus at the time, and I think that's what makes one of the things that makes Radio Sega unique is that we keep on producing entertaining content. We keep on doing things that are fun for the listeners, and we don't just focus on a specific Sega franchise. No disrespect to other stations, like SSR, for example, which I was a listener of SSR, but the thing that makes us more unique is we focus on Sega as a whole. And that's something that's more interesting to me as a Sega fan and not just a Sonic fan or any other franchise fan. I am a Sega fan, and that's what Radio Sega brings to the table. Another thing that is very important is we try to focus on the community side of things. As Green Viper said, we started hosting events centered around the community. We, for example, obviously Winterfest is the main one, the big thing in 2014, something that I came up with. Not a very original idea, I have to say. SSR had Project 24 before that, and we mostly built on that, but with a bigger focus on the Sega community side of things. So instead of just having people who usually hosted shows on Radio Sega or other radio stations, we wanted to bring people from other parts of the community. Maybe we've had YouTubers, we've had musicians, we've had people who are not at all involved in the radio side of things, doing shows, recording podcasts, doing other types of content. And that's what I think is the big pull of Winterfest and what makes people happy is because we have always, every year is a surprise. We don't know who will come up with which idea, which crazy idea. We have giveaways. Sega have been very kind to us in terms of giving us stuff to give away during Winterfest, and it's become a tradition, and it's part of our year as well. We always look for. I speak for myself, but I think we're all in agreement here. It's a big part of our month of December. We know we have Winterfest. Yeah. That's going to be a big thing. It's going to be exciting and fun. So obviously, Winterfest is a big example of how we've been concerned with, maintaining a healthy and wealthy as well, but healthy mostly community around Sega games and Sega music. But we've had other projects as well that focused on the community side of things. For example, we had the Sega Lounge, which is a show and podcast that I am still hosting. Hopefully coming back soon this year, which the idea of Sega Lounge was to be a talk show, but also to shine some light on community individuals who create great projects and interesting things centered around Sega and their love for Sega. So that's something involving the community. Even before that, we had Sega Mixer Drive with Rexy. Rexy will probably discuss this at length, but the focus on the remixes, the community musicians, highlighting everything that's of high quality and bringing people's attention to the amazing community of Sega musicians. I think that's amazing. It's something that we are very proud of over at Radio Sega. We also had Last Call, which is a show that we thought, why don't we invite community musicians to record DJ sets? And every week we'll have like a Friday night party over at Radio Sega with a very nice dance-focused mix, for example, of Sega music, Sega remixes. That's been a success as well. So we've always been focused on the community, and that's my main point here. All of these ideas are always to give back to the community, to make people feel involved, and that's what music does, right? Not just video game music. Obviously, that's our focus, but music brings people together, and I think we accomplished that through Radio Sega. Another thing we do, for example, is we have some of the music that Rexy highlights during her show throughout the year. We also add to the 24/7 stream, to our regular 24/7 stream. It's not requestable, but people can hear some of those songs as well, and that also brings people's attention to what the community is creating. We have the Fan Choice Awards as well. Every year we choose the remix of the year, for example. So also always focused on the community. So yeah, I think mostly that's what we do. As for what I'm currently working on in terms of Radio Sega work, as Viper said, he is currently the head admin. I am an admin as well. Emphasis on, yeah. From time to time, I appear from the shadows and help. I'm hosting shows. I'm hosting a new show soon, Night Train. I'm bringing back the Sega Lounge, but I'm mostly having fun because Radio Sega is a very fun place to be. And if you guys over at MAGFest, if you don't know Radio Sega, if whatever we said and will still say got you interested, please join us. Why not? You don't have to pay anything. I mean, you can if you want to.
Question. I can't help but just wonder how.
How can you pay us?
No, I mean that too, but how does one join Radio Sega?
How does one join RadioSEGA.net? Well, one goes to RadioSEGA.net, for example. RadioSEGA.net, and you'll find all the links. You'll find a link to our Discord chat, to our 24/7 stream. Just RadioSEGA.net. Pretty easy, I think.
Pretty simple. Can't go wrong. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I'll give everybody an abridged version of the Discord too, by the way, which is fully open to anybody who wishes to join. If you haven't already, you can do so at any time with our short links, and you might find this cute, maybe you won't. RadioSE.ga/Discord, and yes, we did do that on purpose. Okay. You feeling good, Casey? Anything else you think you need to cover?
Yeah, I think I've talked for long enough. So if anyone else wants to pitch in.
Sweet. Okay, so I do want to get ourselves over to the extracurricular side, but I feel it's important that we tackle one more internal. There we go. In Radio Sega internal topic before we do so. So let's call an audible and let's flip things over to Nick if he's ready. And I'd like Nick to Nick again is our playlist manager. He's very diligent at what he does, and he's also a show host. And I'd like to throw it over to him to talk about a little bit about the music preservation side and the importance of tagging the songs the way that we do.
Hello. Reminder that I am Nicolas Aman. Yes, I am. I was born in Cape Town in South Africa, and I still live in South Africa, in Stellenbosch. I was born the 21st of August, 2000, so I am 22. And I joined Radio Sega 5th of July, 2019, after starting to making more online accounts and looking for more online content outside of like YouTube and stuff. And then I joined the Radio Sega Discord on the 13th of July, 2019. So is that less than 2 weeks after? I think that is. Mathematically, that makes sense to me. And then I was mostly a listener for a little while, but then got in... my first involvement with like live shows or any sort of programming was Lost Call, actually. So I was a community artist, I guess, but very young at that. I did a Hidenori Shoji medley that got picked up to be aired on Lost Call the 6th of September, 2019. But I became a playlist manager on the 29th of June, 2020. So that's 2 years ago. So it will be 3 years go soon. And then, and then I
What
started.
even is time?
Time is what I'm making of it right now. I then started Individual, the live show. Well, currently it is a very live show. Previously, it was a pre-recorded live show. But I started that on the 26th of May, 2021. So I just wrapped up the second year of that. As for the playlist in depth, it's divided into several folders that I want to talk about. First, of course, there is playlist music, which has been brought up, where you can find the searchable and requestable music from games and albums developed by or published by SEGA, as well as some legacy content of entries in SEGA created series. Examples such as Toe Jam and Roll, Back in the Groove, or Shenmue 3. And then there was third-party music, not 30-party music, where the games that don't fit into playlist music go. And I think there's some albums there, but I always forget if arranged albums are allowed for third-party music, so maybe I've created inconsistencies. Sorry about that. I'm not so squeaky clean, am I? Then there is remix music. A lot of music from both community remix albums and some official remix albums, I think, are there. But it hasn't been updated since the 6th of June 2021, I think, as usually those now go into non-playlist music. Plus, there's some miscellaneous stuff for show hosts there to use at some moment's notice. And recently, I've been trying to add direct rip versions of some soundtracks, partially for archive purposes, but also just that it would be easier to access if we ever make any changes that would require making use of them, like if we upgrade the stream to a higher bitrate than what we're currently using. Is that 320 kbps? I think that's what we're using right now. Yeah? Or is it 120k?
I think it's 128 with
Is it still?
some secret options. Yeah.
Okay. Secrets.
Ooh.
Oh,
That's
really?
interesting.
Surprise.
They'll find it eventually. I haven't. Also, there's promotion. Also, there's promotional, but that hasn't been updated since 2016, and I haven't asked permission if I can say what's in there, and I also haven't listened to it. Permission? I don't know.
No idea what's in there. Maybe there's some skeletons in that closet. I don't know.
I think it's
Easily.
yeah.
It's
As
not just
for
advertising. It's not as interesting.
yeah, I think it's mostly some of Donnie's stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
That's a long story. Let's save for another day.
it's all right. And then, in terms of how we get soundtracks for the playlist, we usually look around the internet for places where music can be downloaded or bought, whether they be highly public like storefronts. I've mainly used iTunes and Bandcamp, or something more private like a DM with a collector. I'm not usually familiar with the history of the playlist manager, but I think the first regular one was Dr. Shane Man. At the very least, they started the playlist new editions / updates thread where I still post about my weekly updates, in addition to a channel in our Discord server which is dedicated to the playlist. So it's very exclusive. Casey has also worked on the playlist for a long time. And I think Kitsuo has also done some additions on occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound Reaper is also someone involved about a decade ago. Someone I actually didn't know about until today, researching the concept of playlist manager.
Sound Reaper and Dr. Shaneman joined together,
Ah, that's nice.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, load shedding. I'm from South Africa, so that is bound to happen. I expected it, but didn't warn you. I'm full of surprises as well. Green Viper 8 has also been into the playlist for a long time, and recently Busy Lizzie has gotten to join in. She and I both started doing it unofficially beforehand. Is that the standard to be more of a...
It happens. We
I've also
rope
just-
people in whether they like it or not, apparently. But
Yeah.
they do. There's an element of, I want to do this in there, you know, I should make that clear. I want to help. How can I help? Sure, here you go.
Yeah, I want to join the ranks. And then, as for the preservation aspect, there are two questions which I've was suggested to be answered. And in terms of how best we preserve anything, more broadly speaking, I think it's best to spread these sorts of things around as far as possible, as any one source can fail and lose the otherwise preserved item. But when it's spread around, it can lead to people getting confident that it can't disappear. But there's always the one source above them all that's actually hosting them. For me, preservation mainly looks like digitization via uploading to the internet. But if that collapses, the archived works get lost again. I don't know, is there a backup for the whole internet? Actually, Internet Archive is a very common umbrella site for expired links. If that one source fails, a netload of things get unpreserved. What are you holding there, Casey?
It's the backup of the internet.
Ah, I was looking for that. You sent me that idea.
Don't tell anyone.
Oh, I won't.
It's our secret and all the lovely people in the audience, but let's pretend.
We're a very privileged group. As for why we preserve anything, I guess it's for it to be accessed at some point, but I and many others archive stuff with no plans for it. If it comes up, great. We've preserved it, but we don't know that'll happen. Maybe it's the possibility that some things came before their time and they'll find a new home in the future. Some things become more important to people as new things come out to recontextualize them. Is Hang On as important as it is without Outrun, Afterburner, and GP Rider to come later? Well, people certainly love Hang On's music, at least I do. And a lot of people are going to find it through their existing connection to Sega, or with Yu Suzuki, or with Hiroshi Kawaguchi, or with racing games, or arcade games, or just video games. But they can't without preserved contents. And maybe it's harder to enjoy if those preserved contents are damaged in some way. And if a damaged preserved work gets spread around, misinformation, it's called in a related field, it becomes more difficult to correct. But there's also people who like documenting, preserving, and enjoying mistakes. So those false spreads can be worthwhile keeps for the future as well. So long as it's made possible to understand them as such, I think. So basically, we just archive whatever we think people will be interested in. Is that okay to say? I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's interested in it, it exists. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Alrighty. So with a lot of the internal side stuff out of the way, we can move on to some of the more extracurricular side of things. I'll remind everybody that at the bottom here we have Kevin from Last Minute Continue, who also once worked at SEGA Europe, and we also have Rexy over here, who's also on the internal show team. They're both on the internal show team, as according to our Discord ranks. And Rexy is the host of Sega Mixer Drive and is a frequent on Overclock Remix. Kevin, if it's okay with you, I think we're going to let ladies go first and have Rexy take the reins here and discuss a little bit of the community connections and how she got her start here and how
By all means.
how we expand communities and all that jazz. Oh, Rexy, one more thing. I'd like to remind you that we're in panel, so I don't often get the chance to say this to your face, but please remember to speak slowly.
Okay. Yes, I will. I'll make sure to keep things absolutely calm. So, hello, I'm Rexy. I've been here in the remix scene for the past 20 years. I feel so old for this one. Oh my gosh. In fact, yes, OC Remix was barely alive and kicking at the time. It was in its fledgling years. I discovered the scene just from researching various Sonic games back then, and particularly Sonic Crackers, so that's going to be the big thing, like unreleased titles and whatever, and that just happened to have coverage on all C Remix back then. I was like drawn into how people would end up interpreting video game music in different ways, even with the limited tools that was available back then. And the scene was even more limited. You had your Dwelling of Duels, which is your live instrument monthly competition. BT Mix existed, which was like the cover sharing place of the time, and even people ended up hosting their own personal websites or just sold randomly pressed discs to people that they knew. And social media didn't even exist. Yeah, that was what things were like all the way back in the early to mid 2000s. So, whew, man, that was a doozy. But yes, we're going to quickly fast forward to 2011 when, after having worked on a track for the Aussie remix album The Sound of Speed, does anyone in the Discord chat or even the live room have familiarities with Aussie remix albums? I mean, I do see a couple of hands. Nice. The track I worked on with Brandon Strader, Hogtied, was a pick that Gaffy selected for his Fan Choice Song of the Year for 2011. So I thought that was a very cool honor, so I ended up keeping RadioSEGA on my personal radar for that case. So after a year or so, I ended up looking more into RadioSEGA and saw that what I saw was a station that was focused on sharing Sega music, but was only really limited in what it was able to do. I saw places like KNTI and even the old 8BitX being able to show more and more of the community aspects that was through their own stations. And I thought maybe I could bring something like that to something more as niche as RS as well. So I pitched Sega Mixer Drive in late 2012, which is the remix show that I ended up working on. And it's going to celebrate its 10th anniversary, in fact, next week. So I cannot believe this.
Anniversary.
Hey, lovely. Oh, man.
Is it next week already?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, it's been
Already?
almost. I can't believe it. I can't believe this. But anyway, the biggest draw that I have to for Sega Mixer Drive is playing new music in a set block every single week. Obviously, there is never ever really enough fresh new music to air in a hour-long or even 2-hour-long format. But being able to pick out just a select amount from the amount of arranged on my growing radar had been fun, and being able to share them on the growth of social media had been a whole other different thing altogether. Twitter now existed, YouTube existed, so I got to see people perform on their instruments as the years go on. Facebook also existed as well, but SoundCloud was more like the bigger draw for people sharing their works if they don't want to show the visual side. The possibilities became more and more endless. Bandcamp, other labels, more and more combos showing out the blue, the VG covers subreddit, loads of different options exploded in the past decade, and I was there to enjoy the ride through and through, and I was really happy to share it with the people that tuned into the station. In fact, Sega Mixer Drive has aired over 1,500 such new tracks over this past 10 years. And some of these will be performing at the Mag later. So if you go into the Post nightclub later, you'll be hearing works from the like of Rob KTA, Mesmerist, Sare, Maxi Deman, and all of that. And if you're more around the Bellevue or the big live rooms, you can end up checking out bands like Scar2 Network, Disco Cactus, The Game Brass, and even CD-ROM's personal favorite at the moment, Lame Genie. Yeah, I thought I'd shout that out for him. New York represent. So, even then, this community had also been welcome to roll back to us as guests, as Casey also elaborated on. So, whether it be for an appearance on other live shows, as mentioned, they could also end up elaborating further to go towards full album presentations with the 10 Years of Sega Ears and Collision Theory albums that got worked on, as well as providing DJ sets on Last Call or even providing radio slots during celebratory events. And some of these artists also... wait a minute, what am I saying? Yeah, so some of these artists also ended up contributing full albums for us to listen to in advance. which is absolutely amazing. So we got to feature work especially from I recall hearing stuff from Jive Master. My gosh, trying to remember off the top of my head. Yeah, definitely Jive Master. I had work from Audio Sprite. Glad to end up preview some of that. Some work from Rob KTA, Open Science Collective. Quite a few artists contributed their own solo work as well. And there had also been some labels in the past as well, like we've also seen Remix, the Pixel Mixers, Game Grooves also reached out to us. It's just great to end up seeing the whole community feedback just roll back and forth and all of this. It's just crazy. And with this, I get to see different kind of expectations as to what kind of things I would see from each side of the remix community as it developed. So with All C Remix, represent by the way, sorry, mama shirt. With All C Remix, I get to hear more interpretations of sources, regardless of what's chosen and regardless of the style picked. So that's one side of the expectation. With the Dwelling of Duels, I expect people to bust out their most expressive live instruments and just play the most expressive take on the source material based on the mom's theme. So whether it can just be your absolute crazy butt rock guitar, or maybe just a soothing jazz piece or anything like that can actually work well for the DoD live scene. And then you've also got places like Game Chops and Fire Records and Tiny Waves that just want to bring out the EDM and just keep things rolling. I've got expectations going on through loads and loads of different places, and it really broadened my worldview over the past 2 decades. God, I'm old, help me. Oh man. With that in mind, with all the different ways that you can end up covering a source material, there should never be limits on how a source should ever end up getting covered. Heck, even in last year's SEGA Mix and Drive season, there had been a unique Oil Ocean remix every single episode for hilarity. Yes, from Sonic 2, because I don't know, maybe the memes. But the way I end up seeing a VGM is that people are welcome to express it in however way they want, however they want it to be. It doesn't quite make sense, but it makes more sense in paper rather than my head. I mean, the ends justify the means, that sort of thing. So as long as people are able to keep on developing SEGA music of that caliber and even showing what they are capable of as artists, regardless of the direction, then that's what I want to end up hearing. That's what I want to end up hearing right here as part of the RadioSEGA community. And that has been an absolute blast to end up checking out over my stint on the station. And for the record CD-ROM, because I've been ill over the past few days, I hadn't really taken any coffee whatsoever. So, yes, that's pretty much me. I'll pass it back to CD-ROM.
Hear that, CD-ROM.
All right, I'm only mildly sorry. I would imply it, Rexy.
It's okay.
All right, so that covers that. Again, Rexy's. We're very fortunate to have her. She's been. I think she has like. Rexy, don't you have like the longest running show on the station right now?
I believe that honor actually goes to Saturday Night Sega, which is a show hosted by Gabby. And he is the one that initially started out the whole fan choice thing that we have here.
Oh,
originally started out. Yeah.
Probably
it
the longest uninterrupted show.
Yes,
I see what you mean, yes. But yes, not only did it have the fan choice song, people could just choose whatever kind of BGM from various different games they liked, but as of 2016, it expanded into fan choice remix as well. So being able to listen towards the people offering their feedback on some of the tracks that are picked and choosing what they feel is it was their jam over the past year. It just feels crazy to end up seeing what kind of opinions would end up going through. So, yes, that's a great way to end up adding more to it. So, thanks for that.
I've had the honor of listening into some of her shows a couple of times, and the remix that she manages to get hold of are absolutely top notch. So if you're not familiar with any of our programming, that's a solid place to start. And I'd remind everybody that we have a number of live shows that go on weekly. So we are always somewhat good on content and always looking for more content. So if you'd like more information on that, I'd be happy to show everybody the show schedule as the panel winds down. But please consider looking into all these shows that we have, and we'll go over those. And fantastic content. We love doing it for everybody that's listening. Okay. Next up, I'm excited about this one. Ladies and gentlemen, you paid for your seat. You're only going to need the edge. Kevin Ava, again, had the distinct honor of working as the community manager for SEGA Europe, and I'm sure he has a wondrous amount of stories to tell you. But also, we'd ask him to chime in on his work creating and moderating SonicRex.com, as well as currently being the head proprietor of Last Minute Continue. I will toss this over to Kevin. Take it away, man.
Hi, everybody. Just to go over that again, my name's Kevin Eva. Sega fans of a certain vintage will still know me as Archangel UK or AA UK. I'm the creator of what was Sonic Rex and is now Last Minute Continue. And SW or LMC has been working with Radio Sega for a very long time. And I'm, in all sincerity, they are the best partner in terms of websites, community websites that we could hope to ask for. Beyond that, as CD mentioned, I used to be, through the period of 2007 through to 2011, I was community manager over at SEGA Europe in London. And as part of my work on that, I worked on the Sega blogs, or the Sega Europe blog, the Sonic blog, which is known as the Sonic City Blognik, the Sonic City itself, which was the brand portal for Sonic. And I was basically the guy that did the social media and community management for everything relating to classic Sega and Sonic games. So, I'm sure quite a few of you have followed the official Sonic Twitter account. I'm the guy that set that up way back when. I am also, though, the host of Radio Redux, which is a show which started in 2006. It's actually 2005, but we don't like to talk about that. And it's been on Radio Sega for a decade and is still broadcasting now. So as you can tell, I'm still with these guys long past my tenure as anything official, and there's a reason why for that. So I could talk about that, and how we produce content very specifically to premiere on Radio Sega, as what we've termed the LMC block, at the traditional 7 p.m. on a Sunday time, right before Sega Mixer Drive, hosted by Rexy. And there's Radio Redux, there's LMC Cast, there's Guest Control, which is a lot of archive shows, and we host an archive on Last Minute Continue itself of all manner of audio bits. But I'm here today really to tell you a story about why Radio Sega is so important in the grand history of the Sega community itself, to the point that I don't think even these guys really know. You're far more important than you think you are, all of you. Way back when, as we're talking the noughties, post Sega going third party, Sega itself was in a lot of transition. In fact, the fan base was in a lot of transition as well. And Sega didn't really know how to communicate. As was touched on earlier, social media was a very, very early thing. If we're talking about 2007, those halcyon days when Twitter was just a gleam in someone else's eye. The community itself has always been very sort of self-sustaining online. I mean, to give you an idea, there's nightsintodreams.com carried on for quite happily on their own little bubble for 10 years before anything came along for them to really get excited about again. That was just a self-sustaining community. Props to DigiValentine and Trippy for their hard work there, and also Joff and others. But SEGA needed to understand how community worked. They did their first community outreach back in 2005, actually, as part of what's known as Shadow Week, in terms of which linked up with the Shadow the Hedgehog release, which they did with Sonic Stadium. And they did sort of tentative stuff and put together what was the beginning of a community management team, both at SEGA of America and SEGA Europe, and those worked in partnership and also with the creators over in Japan. But like I say, they didn't really have the knowledge when it came to dealing with that. SEGA of that time, it's a lot better now, let me preface that, but of that time, going in there as a fan, not the best place to work. Though it was an office in a very traditional office sense. You had finance, marketing, more finance. Being a fan of the product, having knowledge of the product and caring about buyers, i.e. you guys, the community of the product, was kind of seen as a bad thing for some strange reason. And when it came to pass that we did have this community team that came in and really started their activities post Sonic 06, because in a post Sonic 06 world, boy did they need one, and they knew it. We had, let's say, both of these teams set up. 6 community sites really changed, for various reasons, the opinion of SEGA internally. Those were, in no particular order, Sonic Retro, Sonic Stadium, TSSZ News, SEGA Nerds, Sonic Rex, and RadioSEGA. There are others that had their own little, influences here and there. People like UK Resistance and aforementioned Nights into Dreams and SEGA Bits post 2009 when those guys came in. But so you had those guys, and the interactions with SEGA and them really opened the door for them in terms of understanding the community. RadioSEGA is important because if you're a SEGA fan, a lot of the SEGA community has a great love and has always had a great love, and I'm sure the guys here would agree with this, it's not just the games, but it's the processes behind the games. It's the people, it's the artistry involved in creating a video game. And to that end, actually, on RadioSEGA, we've got great live shows that focus on those topics. We've got Nicholas's individual show. We've got the Hidden Palace, and both those focus on, in individual's case, how a composer, a topic, and you've got Hidden Palace, which is more the processes behind the games, the story. For RadioSEGA, they were one of the early sites to go to those early community events. Community sites ended up getting invited along to press events, and they took part originally as a mix of official press and fans, and they developed a very good reputation with the press. And slowly but surely, the reputation of these fan sites came along. From RadioSEGA's point of view, they showed internally that there was that love and that appreciation for those behind the works that were being created. And even in those early days, RadioSEGA's name was spoken very quietly, but it was spoken among some quite senior people. RadioSEGA was an important part of the Summer of Sonic team as well. Summer of Sonic, the UK-based convention for Sonic that went from 2008 through to 2016 was the last one. There was also, though, one in 2006, which is entirely online, and RadioSEGA was a contributor for that. It was around about the time that they switched identities, which is what KC was talking about earlier. So as a part of Summer of Sonic, they are and have been the tech backbone for everything that has gone on at those Summer of Sonics. Their professionalism was highly noted by the various show organisers, tech owners that we worked alongside with. And of course, because you guys were involved in Summer of Sonic, congratulations, you are a Guinness World Record winning website, which I think you guys forget sometimes. Congrats. It was those, but it was those activities that really opened the door and showed that there was more to the Sega community than just they play the game. Radio Sega changed the internal culture at Sega Europe's office. As I said, the Sega Europe's offices were very much an office. You could have all sorts of things going on, but it was a very dry environment, very dry. And if you've ever been a part of an office, there's one guy, and there's always a guy who starts playing music in the corner loudly so everyone could do it. And that became a problem because some people didn't like the music that was being played. They found a way around this by playing Radio Sega, because it was on brand. And then people started asking questions about what this was. Well, this is the track of the game you're working on. Is it? People started learning more about Sega within Sega from listening to Radio Sega. Obviously, legal were not very happy about this and came up to me and was just like, we need to shut this down immediately. And we're like, no, we know about these guys. This is fine. This is all fine. They are helping to preserve our culture as a company, and they are promoting us as a company. And that was in part that a lot of people came up to defend Radio Sega by that point. So we're talking about 2000, late 2008, early 2009, I think this would be. And it was thanks to those interactions that they'd had with the site and the people like Mark Kidley and Simon Shirley and Gavin Story, that they had the reputation that legal backed down. And you still have Radio Sega today. Because it is very much in the grey area, and if Sega really wanted, to do, say, a Nintendo, Radio Sega would bam, gone in a minute. But Sega are more than happy to let it continue because of the great work that it does. But yeah, so it literally changed the culture within the office, and that became a very steady thing for a long time that the Radio Sega stream was going on. That's pretty much the end of my story, actually. So I'll head back to CD.
I'd say that's a fantastic example of how we managed to expand upon culture. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. I guess you wouldn't normally think that Sega would need a lesson about Sega, but it's just. I guess when...
Oh, boy. You have no idea.
No, I don't. I'm really... I need you to sit me down and tell me more stories someday. Because, that's...
One day.
One day. Okay, before we open the panel for questions, we've discussed... a lot of internal affairs here and a number of external affairs, how we work with the radio team, with our media team, and our community partners. But we've got one more piece of this whole puzzle that is not to be forgotten here, and and that would be our news team. We have our own resident Mr. Social, we like to lovingly refer to. Twinny unfortunately was not able to make it to the panel today, but he recorded a short little bit about who he is and what he does, and we'd like to share that with you. Viper, you want to run that?
Yeah, sure. I got that ready to go. So let me know when you're all good.
Let me pull up the picture. Where'd it go? Hang on.
Yes, Twinny, it's you. Smile for the camera.
Right. Here, you know what? I'll just do this. All right.
All right,
do it up.
You are. Okay.
Hello, MAGFest. I hope all of you are doing okay today, and thank you for attending our panel as well. Unfortunately, I can't be there live virtually. Circumstances out of my control had me record my little bit for the panel, but nevertheless, thank you to CD-ROM 1019 for allowing me to be part of it. I am known online as Twinny. By RadioSEGA people, I am dubbed Mr. Sosu for my work overseeing the station's social media presence, namely Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Other social media accounts, maybe we'll get to those. But I just look after those three. Basically, I do the managing, maintaining, and relaying of good standings with the other websites and community names, promote our station via the special events like this past year's Winterfest, and our upcoming Fan Choice Awards that's happening this month. Promote partnerships with other websites, and generally just do my best in showcasing SEGA's history when it comes to the larger VGM scene. Before I go any further, I want to explain my little RadioSEGA origin story to see how I got to this moment. I started out as a listener, a noble listener, in the autumn of 2010. It was exciting that there was this radio station that not only catered to just Sonic the Hedgehog, but there was other SEGA games that could be showcased on online radio. And this was during a time where there was other community-driven radio stations as well, such as Sonic, Radio Nintendo, just to name a couple. But it was RadioSEGA that got me into pretty much the online radio. So I hope I owe a lot of gratitude to SEGA Mark, the original owner of RadioSEGA, for creating it and allowing me to be hooked on a place where so much history can be given to the fans by the fans. So yeah, I was enjoying its content, its website, its shows. By the time it was just starting out in March of 2010, where it started doing live programming, and I was hooked on all of that. Eventually, former station manager Velvet Sonic taking me into its wings, allowed me to be part of its upcoming news division when RadioSEGA was heading towards its Project 7 revamp, which in turn led to me also being part of RadioSEGA's social network and getting control of it. And then ever since, I've been doing my best to get RadioSEGA's name out there on Twitter and Facebook and eventually Instagram. And it's good that my comfortability with using social media means that I can be more flexible and creative and how to best represent RadioSEGA online, especially so in another country where the station isn't based from. I'm from the United States, while RS is based in the UK. So most of the posts you see on RadioSEGA's social accounts now, mostly done by me. See from select staffers who do their part when time arrives, but otherwise, every tweet, every Facebook post, every Instagram post, this coming straight from Mr. Social himself. As the year passed, we focused from general news and transitioned to more on community-based happenings, because personally I feel that RadioSEGA is best suited to helping spread the word on what other like-minded individuals and websites do for the SEGA fandom and video game community as a whole. And I think that gave us a lot more better knowing in the community, especially since we've been doing partnerships with charities, other important community-wide events, and the like. General news still gets touched upon, but on a availability basis. Like say breaking news happens, and if I'm around, then I'll share what's been going on. But otherwise, it's mostly focused on community news and music news. Because of course, with SEGA, it's a music-based station, so of course you gotta tell stuff about music. I believe having Forever Shine take me into the staff role all those years ago is a blessing to how I was able to help RadioSEGA grow for 13 years that I've been with it. 13 years. I did not know I would even make it past 10. So yeah, thank you to him and to all the other station heads that has been dealing with me for 13 years since, Gabby, to Casey, and currently Green Viper 8. So yes, he has to deal with me and my antics on social media for as however long I'm able to. But yeah, I'm glad to be part of the team. Have to help it grow in the community. RadioSEGA itself is still pretty niche, but as long as we're continuing to spread the word out on the great musical legacy of SEGA by any means through social media, then I'm here for that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say on my bit. Of course, you can follow us at RadioSEGA on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Join our Discord. I believe that's another social media place. I'm not sure. You can follow us on Discord. RadioSE.ga/Discord. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Twitter at Ty20, TYTWINNY. Pretty much is more than SEGA on my personal account, but if you want to follow me there, you can. No worries. Again, thank you, CD for letting me spew all these words out to all these great people here at MAGFest, and all you have a great MAGFest 2023, and listen to RadioSEGA whenever you have the time there. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Listen to RadioSEGA, indeed. All right, and that is Twinny. We're very thankful for having him around and for what he does. When you follow the socials at RadioSEGA on Twitter, 90% chance that he's the one that's putting out the tweet. So more often than not, you're seeing words that are typed up and organized way into advance by him. So we're very thankful for the work that he does, so that we don't have to. Okay, so I think it would be a good idea if I briefly went over our show schedule. Viper, I'm going to pull this up on my side. You might want to pull this, if you can, pull it up for the Twitch stream for everybody that's watching.
Sure thing. Let me. Yeah. No worries. Okay.
I had one open over here. Hold on. Come on, almost got it. All right, cool. Our shows at a glance. Think, Viper, is this right? This doesn't look right.
This is currently as it is, yeah. The Christmas Crimbo Limbo is a very real thing. Things are coming back throughout the week. I'm aware it looks a little dry, so spice it up if you like.
Okay, well, as recently as Christmas, our show schedule is looking like this. We should have a lot of our shows returning. I don't know why mine's not on here, but okay, we'll go with that. Pick and mix. Actually, I'm going to start by Thursday because that's the earliest day here. On Thursday at about 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you can enjoy myself hosting the Strictly Sonic Show. I take a game and I cover the entirety of the OST, and we're doing that from the beginning of Sonic's timeline to the current game that's released, which at this point would be Sonic Frontiers. Friday is Pick and Mix. That's with Viper. That's you, right?
Yeah, that's me. Can confirm.
I'm trying to. I don't see. Why is it? Oh, there we go. Okay, now I see everything as it should be. Then that's at 2 p.m. I think. Is this localized for time zone? Am I looking at?
Yeah, this is 2 p.m. UK time. Oh, sorry, 2 p.m. Oh, goodness. I'm so used to it. 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time. All times on the website are localized to your local time zone. Thankfully.
Gotcha. So everyone in MAGFest is looking at localized times. So the Twitch is looking at localized to GMT. VGB Box at Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. Saturday Night Sega at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. And there's Kevin again with the LMC block. Sundays at 2 p.m. And again, I don't know where Sega Mixer Drive is, but we just heard Rexy say that's coming up. That's after LMC block on Sundays. That's 10 p.m. GMT,
yes.
Right, Rexy?
Currently, Sega Mixer Drive is off season, but it does return for a brand new premiere at early February. In fact, I can confirm right now that Season 11 will launch on February the 5th, aka a month from today.
And there you have it. And that's what we do.
And while on the subject of announcements for Sunday evenings, perhaps, maybe, I can confirm that Night Train, my new show, will debut on January 15th, Sunday at 11 p.m. So that's another Sunday show.
Whoa,
You heard it here
MAGFest
first.
bonus. New show alert. Yay. You heard it here first, folks. All right. I don't know if we don't have a whole lot of time left. I don't know if we really need to go over a huge technical demonstration, but I think what I will do for the purposes of the panel, and Viper, you might want to pull up your RDG on your side too, just so everyone can get a quick look. I just want to I want to enforce that if you would like to be a DJ, if you'd like to find a radio station of your choosing, there are several. There used to be more, now there's less, but there are still several. And for example, if you'd like to say audition to be part of the Radio Sega team, if you fancy yourself a creative, it's not hard to do. If you've got time, you don't need a super fancy computer to do what we do. In fact, a large amount of the software that we use to do what we do on a weekly basis, spoiler, is free. Shocker! Whoa. We use these free tools. I'm going to pull over my radio DJ to the projector. This is what we the industry standard for what we use. I unfortunately don't have the whole lot of time to go over each technical bit about what each button does, but I can look at this and I can very clearly say this isn't all that complicated. And this is 100% free to grab for anybody. If you got a modern computer, or if you're using something that's just a little bit legacy, don't worry, it'll probably work. You just need one of these. Another free tool that we use to manage our soundboards. In fact, I'm using it right now. Here's a shot of a voice meter banana. This is also free. You can see all the levels going in live. This manages the mic. It's also managing our guests, and it's managing these instant carts, which I don't have time to go through, but it also has mixers and dials for music that we play through Radio DJ, and it integrates pretty seamlessly. How? With some donationware called virtual audio cable. That's important to note, because that's basically, how much do you want to pay for this? Just pay it anyway. Whatever you want. You get to download these cables for that. And then you can share them around. Donationware, and it's solid software. It works. I wish I had the time to show you what the cable looks like once it's all installed, because believe me, it kind of gets to be a little bit of a mess. But it's, again, to reinforce this whole idea, even you can be an internet radio DJ. If you've got an idea and you've got a voice, you can audition to anyone who would probably have you, and we'll share the music with you, and you can make content. All right, 8 minutes left. We might end.
If we can do it, trust me, you can do it.
Absolutely. That's a great way to look at it. This mouse is not behaving with me, so let me see if I can bring these down. Give me 1 second here. All right, great. So it's a little light in here. We can take some questions. Viper, is there anybody asking anything in particular in the Twitch room?
I'm not
Yes.
Viper, but there is a question that I stole from the OC Remix handle from Lion Tamer. Glad to catch you there. So, let's recommend one Sega track of any type for folks to listen to. Can be an original or arrangement, official or fan work. So, any Sega tune, recommend, go.
Goodness. You put me on the spot here, as everyone else.
I'll defer.
I will go first and recommend Blue Impact from Virtual Fighter 4. That is the theme of Pai-chan, composed by Hideaki Miyamoto, who you may know for all the music in Virtua Striker, Virtual Cop 2, Burning Rival, Hard Dunk, and some music in Shenmue, Charge and Blast, F355 Challenge. Enjoy it. It is recommended as well by Sachio Ogawa, the main composer of Virtua Fighter 4. Is that all right?
So it's fine with me. This sounds perfect. Jotting down our notes as well, going, I've heard that one before. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Anyone else got any picks before someone else has
I've got
come in
one.
and saved the day?
Yeah, I just need to look up who composed this. No, I've got one.
You feel like Don.
Probably my favorite Sega track of all time, from the Shenmue Orchestra version album. I believe now it's called "The Sound of Waves in the Morning Haze." It's probably my
sounds
favorite orchestral track. It was composed by, wait for it, Toshiyuki Watanabe, who you probably know from composing this track. Perhaps. No, but Nicholas probably knows this person from somewhere else.
They're mainly an anime composer. So I don't actually know a lot about Watanabe himself. Sorry about that one.
Just this track alone. Amazing.
Yeah. Go 5.
There are far too many official works for me to name, but if for the sake of being retro at a video game convention, I think one of my favorite tracks of all time is definitely Metallic Madness from Sonic CD. Someone might have to check the work on who composed that. Favorite fan work, however, I think still goes to Crystal Duality off of the Sonic CD Temporal What was it? Temporal Distortion?
Duality.
Again, I'm sorry.
Temporal Duality.
Temporal
well,
Duality, okay. I'm sorry. It was Crystal Duration from Temporal Duality. There we go. It was an OC remix special Sonic CD cover remix album, and it is fantastic.
Yeah, that's some fun fiction, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So it is. I like to think.
All right, I'm going to chime in with this one as well. Obviously, we cannot say Sega without mentioning Yuzo Koshiro, right? So obviously, if you've never played Streets of Rage before and you end up reaching a boss, then you would end up feeling absolute trans heaven when you end up getting to them. And I would absolutely highly recommend Never Return Alive from Streets of Rage 2, because it just like puts all the stops into what the Sega Mega Drive sound chip is capable of when being able to produce flat out EDM that sounds like it could fit on an EDM CD of that era. So it's just crazy to just see. In fact, check out a lot of Yuzo Koshiro stuff if you want to end up seeing how far he's developed as a musician. Go for it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's
I'll
a
jump
great
in
one.
next, hopefully. So many people who are just so eager to answer, and yet here I am right at the end. It's so hard to list, like even definitive top 100 favorite tracks of Sega. There's so much I love, and I don't know if anyone else can say the same, but Radio Sega is hugely responsible for changing my taste in a lot of music, introducing me to so many things I never would have listened to or had heard before. And as a result, it's just so difficult, and I couldn't go for one definitive one. So I've just been looking through my thousands long favorites list on RadioSEGA.net, which is a lovely feature if you want to request music. And one that I've come up with is a recent Radio Sega classic. There's many classics that go back through the ages, the top requests of all time, stuff that's become popular through live shows, like many things fitting that bill. But for me, one that's become really popular in the most recent years and is really strange to hear in a somewhat official capacity, but will blow you away and really question what a Sega track is. And it's nothing boundary pushing, but it's so out there for official Sega composers to come out with something like it. It just really doesn't sound like much at all, or much else at all that Sega have done. It's from Blind Spot 2 30th Anniversary, the band composed... how would you even say? I don't know. It's made up of former SST band members, and they cover a lot of music which you otherwise wouldn't hear official coverage of anymore in the modern day, because who the hell thinks of Super Monaco GP or Sega Tetris or anything like that? In my case, I'd recommend, it's on Spotify, it's on a lot of things, so you got a lot of options. Listen to A Night in a Tory, a remix of the track from Super Monaco GP. It's a lovely song that I regularly catch on shuffle. And if you've got a lot of people who, don't think video game music is real music, whatever, it's a thing we'll go through a lot. If you want something that just sounds like a real proper pop track that you'd hear someone blasting on the radio or through the stereo, I think that's one which will make people around you raise their eyebrow and go, that's really a Sega track. Wow, I got to listen to more of this. So I'd go with that personally. I'm aware it's a bit of a long-winded explanation, but hey, music means a lot to all of us. So...
just as a side note, Viper, sorry, how many tracks, how many songs can people request at this moment? Not how many
we're talking about
can request the pool of songs they can request from.
I actually don't know the number of songs, but I know the number of games is currently games, anime, console, BIOS music, all that sort of stuff. 1,915 unique individual albums / games / whatever you want to call it is how many we have currently on the playlist.
Probably 25,000 plus.
And that's maybe just the number that's requestable. There's a lot of stuff, as discussed earlier on the show, that's not requestable for a variety of reasons that have been agreed with artists, etc. But that's exclusively the number of games you can request on the playlist. As I say, I don't know if Nicholas has a more accurate number of actual songs, but
I had an idea to check, but it might take a little while, so probably not the best time to do that.
At the risk
it's a lot.
At the risk of cutting everybody off, we got to wrap up in really short order. Kevin, do you have a quick answer?
Yes, if that was Larry, hi Larry, been a while, Night Flight, whether it's Outrun 2, 2006, Coast to Coast, or Online Arcade, whoever you do it, Night Flight, it's the vocal track that deserves more love from Outrun. Also, Larry, why is there still not enough Sega Pico remixes? I told you this 13 years ago. Get on it.
All right, wonderful. All right, we'd like to give a special thanks to everybody that was listening at the 24/7 stream and everybody watching us over Twitch and everybody that came to visit us at MAGFest. One more time, you can visit us at RadioSEGA.net. It's free to go and join, create an account. Please do so you can use the request a track feature. And as always, it is free to join us at RadioSEGA.net/Discord or RadioSE.ga/Discord. Thank you, everybody. Please rate us on the Guidebook app and have a fantastic MAGFest 2023.